Ladies and gentlemen, this is the main event of the evening. National Promotions proudly present a contest of 12 3-minute rounds to decide the Middleweight Championship of the Commonwealth. Between introducing in the blue corner, wearing the red and white trunks from Canada, a professional record from 33 contests of 22 wins, 9 losses and 2 draws. Would you please welcome the challenger for the title, Jacques LeBlanc. And in the red corner, wearing the navy trunks with the white trim from Telford, a man who has an unbeaten record of 16 contests without loss, making his 3rd defence of his title this evening, the middleweight champion of the Commonwealth, Richie Woohall. At the weigh-in today, LeBlanc scaled 11 stone 5 3/4 pounds, Woodall 11 stone 4 pounds. Your officials appointed for this contest by the British Boxing Board of Control, the steward in charge, Mr. Charles Giles, the timekeeper, Mr. Brian Heath, the referee, Mr. Dave Paris from London.
Knuckle part of the glove. If one of you goes down, the other goes the furthest into the corner. Break when I tell you to.
Dave Paris, the referee, gives them a little final instructions about what happens when one of them goes down, and the difference in height very clearly illustrated. Richie Woohall, some 4 inches at the very least taller than his Canadian opponent, the challenger, Jacques LeBlanc.
For the first round.
So Richie Woohall back in the ring for the first time in 7 months. By far the taller of the two in the blue trunks from Telford, the reigning Commonwealth middleweight champion. His opponent, the 32-year-old now, Jacques LeBlanc from Civic in New Brunswick in Canada. This is his 34th professional fight. He's won just 22, lost 9, but he's never been stopped and he's never been floored. He's been a professional for 12 years. And he was the Canadian middleweight champion and now has this chance to become the Commonwealth champion. But to do that, he's got to beat the former Olympic bronze medal, former Commonwealth Games gold medalist, Richie Woohall, now 26, boasting that perfect record of 16 contests, 16 wins, and 8 of them inside the distance. So, the questions that Richie Woohall will be asking himself: what has 7 months out of the ring done to his sharpness? And both hands, which have given him an awful lot of trouble, have had minor operations. And those two will be tested against a man who's never been floored and never been stopped. So Richie Woohall in blue, and the shorter by at the very least 4 inches, perhaps 5 or 6. And that's a fair illustration of just what an advantage Woohall's got, and he's using that to great effect. He really has a huge reach advantage. But LeBlanc, remember, very tough. So Woohall, this is 3rd defense. He's had 2 contests this year, non-title contests they were, both in March, stopping 2 Americans, Heath Todd in Dudley, and then Greg Lonan in Birmingham. But the hands were bothering him at that stage, and he was well advised just to take a bit of a rest and get them sorted out. Good covering up by Woohall as the shorter Canadian, the challenger, Jacques LeBlanc, comes in. Nice bit of switch hitting there by Woohall in the opening round. And again, Woohall putting together little combinations. LeBlanc keeps coming forward and he's very strong, and if he gets inside, Woohall could find himself in a little bit of bother. And the game plan, I think, from Woohall's point of view, is to keep the man away from him and just pick him off. Richie Woohall, very much the local favourite. A man who was beaten in the Olympic Games by Roy Jones, who's now the IBF champion of the world. Woohall, a confident enough first round, and he doesn't seem to be worrying too much about his hands. And look at that, that was a good shot with the right, and that really staggered Jacques LeBlanc in the first round. The Canadian's defence very high. Woohall had to work hard to try to get round the corner. Well, looks nice and relaxed, Richie Woohall, now 26 years old. The pro since October 1990, so a fairly leisurely pace in the professional ranks.
Corners, 10 seconds. Seconds out. Round 2.
Richie Woohall, the big fella in the blue trunks, won the vacant Commonwealth title in Telford in spectacular fashion, stopping the Australian Vito Gaudiosi in March of 1992. Gaudiosi had never been on the floor, he'd never been down, and Woohall knocked him out in about a minute and a half. 2 defences since. One defence, I should say, since October 93, just a year ago. Canada's Jerry Meekison was defeated in 12 rounds in West Bromwich. And here now is another Canadian, the chunky Jacques LeBlanc, 32, a pro for some 12 years. And just how difficult LeBlanc could prove to be, I think, is illustrated by a couple of the names on his record card. Roberto Duran jumps right out of that record card. And Duran defeated LeBlanc in 10 rounds in June of last year. Dave Parry speaking to Richie Woohall about use of the improper part of the glove. He's not punching with the knuckle part. I wonder how much trouble his hands are giving him, but certainly the first round would seem, and that little flurry would seem that the surgeon was successful. LeBlanc is very tough and very strong and seems totally impervious to everything so far that Woohall has thrown at him. LeBlanc comes here having lost all of his last 5 fights, all of them though on points, including one to former world champion Vinny Pancienza at in April of this year. Nobody has been able to knock LeBlanc on the floor or stop him. Reddening around the chest of Richie Woohall, where LeBlanc has come in and caught him with a couple of decent body shots. It's about half a minute to go to the end of the second. And while Woohall is doing all the moving, it's interesting that the Canadian is more or less fixed in the centre of the ring and allowing the champion to move around him. Shot again by Woohall, and the uppercut coming through. LeBlanc led that well. Another good round by Richie Woohall, the reigning Commonwealth middleweight champion. And that's his opponent, now 32, Jacques LeBlanc. Won and lost the Canadian middleweight title way back in 1989. He's been a pro since June 1982. So under a little bit of pressure once again in that round, Jacques LeBlanc, a challenger from New Brunswick. And the hands held high, and well they might have been. Yes, just one of those got through, the second one, and good defense by the Canadian challenger.
Corners, 10 seconds.
As the face has been around a few corners.
Seconds out. Round 3.
Richie Woohall out of his red corner, towering over his opponent, Jacques LeBlanc. LeBlanc, interestingly, though he's giving away some 4 or 5 inches in terms of height, is actually heavier. 11 stone 6, the middleweight limit. Woohall at 11.4. LeBlanc from Canada, the challenger, 11.5 and 3/4. They're scheduled for 12 rounds. And Woohall, a confident return to the ring. His first contest, remember, since March. Well, LeBlanc really is coming forward. He's taking just about everything. One wonders how Neville Brown, who's the current British champion, figures in the plans of Richie Woohall. Brown, who actually beat Woohall for the Midlands title way back in 1988 as an amateur, and then Woohall got the nod to go to the Seoul Olympic Games and came home with a bronze. Roy Jones, the man that beat him, so cruelly robbed of the gold by a most extraordinary decision in the final, and Jones went on to get the Best Boxer award. Woohall having to punch down all the time into the shorter man, who has a very good defense. He keeps those gloves held very high. He's very fast getting the hands up at the side of his face. Woohall's turn to defend. 2 minutes gone, and this the third. Woohall, I think at this stage, will be pretty pleased with his first contest since March of this year. Good pressure by the Canadian once he actually gets inside. He's short little arms, and they come round in arcs. And Woohall taking most of it though on his elbows and forearms. LeBlanc has only stopped 5 of his opponents in his 22 wins from 33 contests, so not really known as much of a hitter, but he has the classic granite jaw. And he's never been on the canvas. Danny Mancini in the corner, and 3 good rounds and a fine return to the ring by the reigning Commonwealth champion Richie Woohall. And he's been putting together 1 or 2 nice combinations and using that reach of his to the very best advantage. LeBlanc coming in, and Woohall for a big man moving sweetly and then pouncing with the right. That was a nice piece of countering by the champion. What a difference there is in height. He missed and then kept the left going and forced the right through, and LeBlanc covering up as best he could. No sign of any marks or bruising or grazing in the face of Richie Woohall.
Seconds out. Round 4.
The defending Commonwealth middleweight champion, the taller man in the blue, Richie Woohall, has put in 3 pretty impressive rounds against his shorter squatter and somewhat surprisingly heavier Canadian challenger from Shediac in New Brunswick, Canada, Jacques LeBlanc, now 32 years old. Tremendous record in terms of defense. It's LeBlanc's 34th professional contest. He's lost 9, drawn 2 and won 22. And Woohall, one hopes, with his hand problems well and truly solved after 2 tough non-title fights way back in March against successive Americans, Heath Todd and Greg Lonan, the second on the Bruno Jesse Ferguson bill, is looking very confident. Fast hands by Woohall. Blocked, however, by LeBlanc. There's very good work by Richie Woohall. He's attacking, he's defending well, and back to the attack straight away. Woodall's been a pro since October of 1990. Won his first 6 contests inside 4 rounds or even less. Very tall for a middleweight, Richie Woohall, 6 feet and 2 inches, just weighing in 11 stones 4, about 1 pound and 3/4 lighter than his Canadian opponent. Well, it's very difficult to see how the Canadian Jacques LeBlanc has even managed a share of any of the 3 rounds so far, and one does feel that Richie Woohall will go back to his corner at the end of this, the 4th. Very much in command. Woohall doing all the moving. Mostly moving clockwise away from his opponent. That was a good right hand by Woohall as LeBlanc tried to close him down. So the Canadians' defense really has been quite something. Nothing much in the counter from LeBlanc, but his durability beyond question, and a rather baleful look from Jacques LeBlanc as he goes back to his corner at the end of the 4th round. And I don't think he's even managed a share of any of the 4 so far. Breathing pretty heavily, Jacques LeBlanc. Pro since June of 1982. LeBlanc hasn't won since June of 93, and unless he can do something special against Richie Woohall, that sequence is going to be extended. Good action from Richie Woohall from the middle of that 4th round, and the bigger man dipping down and covering up very well as LeBlanc came back at him, and he managed to shorten the right and then the left and caught the Canadian beautifully.
Corners, 10 seconds.
The corner's getting the signal that there are 10 seconds to go before the start of the 5th round. This, remember, scheduled for 12. Dave Parrish brings them together for the start of the 5th round. Remember, the middleweight championship of the Commonwealth at stake. Richie Woohall from England, the holder. The big fella, the 6'2" man in blue. And while he's in control of this contest, he's certainly not silly enough to let himself go against a man who's not known as a big hitter, but he's a big starer. Jacques LeBlanc from Canada. Shorter man, very quick hands and very quick responses. Richie Woohall, apart from Neville Brown in the sights, must be thinking perhaps about a world title. Steve Collins, the Irishman, is the WBO champion, the man who beat Woodall in the Seoul Olympics. Roy Jones is the IBF champion, and the man I think everybody wants to stay away from, the WBA champion, Gerald McKellen. That's probably the best of the lot. Well, if Woodall had been boxing like this in his amateur days, he would have been picking up point after point, even with the controversial computer scoring. As that left jab of his is in and out. Well, that's good stuff by Woodall. And the defense of LeBlanc letting him down in the middle of this 5th round. And what a tough little guy he is. Back he comes. Well, Jacques LeBlanc's middle name should be Durability. Any doubts about Richie Woohall's hands, I think, will have been well and truly dispelled. Woodall's left eye is a little puffy around the side. There's a little hint of bruising there, so LeBlanc seems to have got through with something. But nothing, I think, that's going to worry the Woodall corner. Instead, Len in the corner with Denny Mancini. Some of Woodall must be wondering, what am I going to do to get rid of this fella, because he's in my face everywhere I go. What another good round. What a very good round of boxing. And there is definitely a cut. Well, that's a cut right on the eyelid, and Denny Mancini, who's one of the best in the business, I think will be certain cause for anxiety, because it's right on the eyelid itself, and what looked as if it might have been just a little bruise has turned out to be more than that. And I don't think it's desperately serious, but it's something they won't be very happy about. No, there was a rub of heads in there, but I don't think that's what caused it. That right hand that came over might have done it. Woodall responding very nicely. A good round of boxing, again going Woodall's way in the main. Good defense by the Canadian, those hands held up high. And there's a Boxing Board of Control official having a look at that left eye of Richie Woohall. A fairly hefty smear of grease on it. Heavy eyelids, it's difficult to see, but there's certainly a nasty cut there. So this to take us up to the midpoint in this Commonwealth Middleweight Championship contest. Richie Woohall, the champion in blue, very much in command, but worrying times for him because his shorter, chunkier opponent in the red and white of Canada with the maple leaf emblazoned right on the front, Jacques LeBlanc, has been there all the time and has managed, one way or another, to inflict a worrying little cut on the right eyelid of the champion, the 26-year-old, from the left eyelid, I should say. The 26-year-old from Telford, defending his title for the third time. So Woodall, if anything, will have to be that bit more cautious. Will need to work behind that left jab. Just keep going the way he was, and he'll certainly make a successful defense. Remember, Richie Woohall with a perfect record. 16 contests since he turned professional in October of 1990. 16 wins, 8 stoppages. And a spectacular stoppage of all. That's when he won the vacant Commonwealth title in March of '92 against a man who'd never been stopped and never been knocked down, Vito Gaudiosi from Australia. Fair bit of work was done in the corner, and they'll be happy enough with it. No sign of any seepage at all. Good covering up by Woodall. The punching of LeBlanc has been consistent, but it hasn't been desperately accurate. And he's been told off by Dave Paris for hitting with the open part of the glove and not the knuckle part. There's a good body shot by Woodall. Now that did get through, and that took some of the steam out of Jacques LeBlanc. Well, this was always going to be difficult for Woodall, looking at LeBlanc's record. Never stopped, never floored in 12 years as a professional. He's gone the distance with the great Roberto Duran and the very good Vinny Pazienza. But Richie Woohall out of the ring now for about 7 months, boxing quite splendidly. Just a few seconds to go, and LeBlanc, as ever, not letting up at all on Woohall, forcing the champion backward. And LeBlanc takes his own gum shield out and goes back to his corner. Well, it's still there, that little nick. I don't think they're going to worry too much about it unless he gets caught on it again, and it should open. But it's not in a very good position at all. And any bleeding would obviously obstruct the vision. The doctor's having a good look at it, but seems to be happy enough that the fight should continue. And they don't seem unduly worried in the Woodall corner. And Woodall, despite the niggling doubt at the back of his mind about that eye. See how he covers up well. He took some shots from the Canadian there on his gloves, and moved to southpaw very quickly, and he did get through, and that was a nice spell of action from Richie Woohall. That's starting to bruise a little bit. I don't think it's going to close at this stage. Into the second half of this scheduled 12-rounder at 11 stone 6 for the Middleweight Championship of the Commonwealth. And Richie Woohall defending the title for the third time. Looking confident. Big tall fella, and he's used that to good advantage. But that was the first time that LeBlanc really has wobbled. And this is a man who's never been floored, never been stopped. And Woohall caught him flush on the side of the face with the best right hand he's thrown in this contest. And what does it say about the strength of Jacques LeBlanc that he's taken that and he's come back and he's throwing as many punches as he can possibly get in. Well, Woohall must be saying, now where did they get you from? Well, they must breed him pretty tough in Shediac, New Brunswick. But Roberto Duran couldn't put him away. Former world champion Vinny Pazienza couldn't put him away. Although he's lost his last 5 contests, all of them on points, Jacques LeBlanc is making Richie Woohall work very hard. Look at that height advantage. It's just the sort of contest that Richie Woohall really needs. A, to test his hands, which had to have operations, and B, to test his confidence and his stamina, and obviously his strength. But despite the constant pounding from Woohall, the face of Jacques LeBlanc relatively unmarked. And yet again, the left eyelid of Richie Woohall not giving him any bother whatsoever. A slight swelling now underneath the left eye of Jacques LeBlanc. And this diminutive Canadian is bouncing up and down on his toes, and he's certainly come here to fight, and he's come to enjoy himself, and he's giving great value to this crowd here in the Civic Hall in Wolverhampton. Right and then left from Woohall, and LeBlanc just shakes the head and plows forward. Woohall ends the round defending well. Well, they haven't stopped from the very first bell, have they? This has been a smashing contest. And Jacques LeBlanc, the challenger from Canada, has played a very significant part. Breathing fairly heavily, looks as if he's carrying a pound or two. He's come in at a pound and 3/4 heavier than the much taller champion. But he's tough and has really taken Richie Woohall to the extent of Woodall's powers. Woohall simply towering over the Canadian, who's outreached and outpunched, and that was a good shot by Woohall, and the legs wobbled ever so slightly, and Woohall coming forward, and he can't put this man away.
Seconds up. Round 8.
The red and white shorts with the maple leaf, the property of Jacques LeBlanc, now 32 years old, in his 13th year as a professional boxer. The challenger to Richie Woohall, the big fella in blue, for the Commonwealth Championship at middleweight, 11 stone 6. And while Richie Woohall has dominated all the way through, LeBlanc has never been too far away from him. And this is just the contest that Woohall needed. Woohall being urged by his corner to edge his man back. And the little cut that appeared on the Woohall left eyelid towards the end of the 6th round doesn't seem to have worsened. Hint of a low blow there. Good left hand by Jacques LeBlanc. Not known as a particularly devastating puncher. He's only stopped 5 of his opponents in his 22 wins from 33 contests. You know, shortening the right and connecting. Woohall just seems to have lifted the pace a little bit. Looking for the right hand, which connected pretty usefully towards the end of the last round, the 7th. About midway through the 8th. Just 2 contests this year for Richie Woohall, both of them way back in March, stopping in the 7th round Heath Todd of the United States and Dudley. A couple of weeks later on the Frank Bruno Jesse Ferguson bill in Birmingham, he stopped Greg Lonan in 6. But the hands were giving him bother, and the decision was made to give him a rest. Well, this is the sort of contest I think everybody likes to see. It's been tough all the way. There's been absolutely no messing about, and referee Dave Parrish has hardly had to say anything other than break and box all the way through. And there's the break. Ten to go to the end of the 8th, and then 4 more rounds. And Woohall still looking sprightly, and LeBlanc looking, well, almost unstoppable. A generous round of applause, not surprisingly, and well, that certainly hasn't worsened at all. And Denny Mancini unceremoniously wipes a sponge across, and I don't think they're even worried about applying a little bit of grease. There's no sign of the old adrenal solution coming out. A slight bit of bruising underneath the eye, and study and concentration, Richie Woohall, but hasn't had too much to worry about other than that cut. But that concentration mustn't be allowed to drop for a single second. LeBlanc trying to get inside, and Woohall, those long arms of his just doubling up, getting back inside of the Canadian challenger.
Corners, 10 seconds. Seconds out. Round 9.
8 rounds gone then for the middleweight championship of the Commonwealth. In the navy with the white stripes, the champion defending the title for the 3rd time, Telford 26-year-old Richie Woohall, 1988 Olympic bronze medalist and 1990 Commonwealth Games gold medalist, both of those at light middleweight. Jacques LeBlanc from Canada, the unstoppable, the undroppable little man from Shediac in New Brunswick, is still there. 32 now he is, his enthusiasm not diminished at all after almost 34 professional contests. Other people might be wondering why Woohall is not disposed of this man, but Roberto Duran couldn't do it. And that says a fair bit about the chin and the heart and the courage of Jacques LeBlanc. Look at that height advantage. Oh, another good right hand. The left of LeBlanc just dropped, and he took Woodall's right flush in the side of his chin. I don't even think the eyes blinked. Woodall has defended very well. The shorter opponent hasn't been able to get inside him, and when he has done, Woodall has kept the hands up. There's that tap with the left and the hint of a right coming over from Woodall. A minute to go to the end of the ninth. And they've kept up a cracking pace from the very first bell. Woodall just changing momentarily to southpaw to try to confuse LeBlanc. There's the right again. And this time LeBlanc has to hold on. 30 seconds remaining, and LeBlanc survives yet another round. Does so with great dignity. Good finish by Woodall. He's winning this contest fairly comfortably on points. Another good round for the champion. And back he goes to the corner. Johnny Mancini removes the gum shield. Mickey Duff pats him on the head, and I think we'll be saying, well, just keep it going. The eye, not too bad, and that's not really worrying them too much. And LeBlanc seemingly in a little bit of pain, but I think he's just tired. He's taken just about everything Woodall has thrown at him, and he's come back with remarkable bravery. Woodall again. Woodall, I should say. And there's the right hand. Wasn't delivered terribly cleanly, but it landed. And that's the second one, which was a much better shot.
Corners, 10 seconds.
So LeBlanc almost coming to the end of his 34th professional contest.
Seconds up. Round 10.
Referee, the man in the middle, the very experienced Dave Parrish, brings them together. And just waiting for Denny Mancini, the man who's in the corner of the reigning Commonwealth middleweight champion Richie Woohall, to leave the ring. And Woohall, I'm quite sure, must be thinking, will Jacques LeBlanc ever leave this ring? But I don't think he will until the very final bell goes. As LeBlanc, for 9 rounds, has given the Commonwealth champion probably the toughest contest of Woodall's professional career. He's been well in command, Woodall, but he hasn't been able to let up the pace at all. And he probably doesn't want to, because having been out since March, he needs an impressive performance. Looks in great shape, Richie Woohall. 6 feet and 2 inches tall, and for a man who's as tall as that to get down to 11 stone 4, which is actually 2 pounds inside the middleweight limit, is pretty good going. Well, I don't know where Jacques LeBlanc gets the energy from. Woodall just that bit quicker. LeBlanc hasn't won a contest since June of 1993, just a few weeks before he lost to Roberto Durand, and he beat another Midlander, Paul Wesley, on points. That was in Canada. So a year and a half almost since LeBlanc won. Woodall still determined to do what nobody else has ever done in 32 contests against Jacques LeBlanc, and that's put him down or stop him. And even Woodall showing very faint signs of tiring. And LeBlanc grins and gets back to the job. Good strong finish by the champion Richie Woohall. Well, 10 absolutely cracking rounds for the middleweight championship of the Commonwealth we've had here in the Civic Hall in Wolverhampton. Richie Woohall delighted, I'm sure, to get back into the ring, and what a workout he has been given. He took a little breather in the middle of the round, Richie Woohall, and then finished off in style. The right hand not quite connecting, but Jacques LeBlanc forced once again to give ground. Good finish by Woohall. LeBlanc unable to get inside the very tight-looking defense of the champion, and Woohall is ever looking for the opportunity to counter. Wasn't too far away with that left, just clipped his man on the point of the chin.
10 seconds.
Well, now that's very interesting. That looks like a wedding ring in the boxing boot of Richie Woohall. Ricky Duff saying, this is going well. Out you go. So 2 rounds to go for the middleweight championship of the Commonwealth. The holder in blue and white. The taller of the two, Richie Woohall from Telford, 26-year-old. Has done enough at this stage to have made a successful defense, his third defense, but you can take nothing at all away from the 32-year-old man in the red and white of Canada, Jacques LeBlanc from New Brunswick. And he's been in this contest all the way through. Outreached, outboxed, and certainly outscored, but has matched Woohall in terms of bravery and courage. Woohall may go on to greater things, and one certainly hopes that he does, but I don't think he'll meet anybody who has this depth of character. The head of LeBlanc is rubbing into the face of Woohall. Woohall trying for the uppercut. Good jabbing. Well, he just bounces straight back.
Come on, Richie. Keep boxing. Come on, Jack.
The last thing Woohall needs to do towards the end of this contest is get anything resembling careless. And some I don't think he will. About a minute to go to the end of the 11th, and then 3 more, and I suspect that Dave Parrish will raise the hand of Richie Woohall to indicate that he's retained his Commonwealth middleweight title. His last defence went 12 rounds against another Canadian, Jerry Meekerson, in West Bromwich just a year ago. And it looks very much as if another Canadian is going to take him the full 12 rounds. LeBlanc catching the champion occasionally as he comes inside and throws little short over the top rights and lefts.
Oh, good shot. Keep it going,
But the reach and the accuracy of Woohall, 2 telling factors. Well, the 11th round, every bit as good. as the previous 10, and full marks to LeBlanc, under pressure and comes back. They don't really look at each other, but I'm sure Richie Woohall has given this man not just a great contest, but he's given him an immense amount of respect. What a challenge he's put up, Jacques LeBlanc. He's been saying to his corner that he maybe doesn't have an awful lot left, but my goodness, you wouldn't think it. End of the round, Woohall forcing the challenger back, and 3 very good shots on LeBlanc. I think glad to hear the bell, but never wasting the chance to come back himself. What a performer, Jacques LeBlanc. Woohall, that tentative little left just popping out, sizing his man up. Good style from Woohall. The right came over. Wasn't just as clean as before, so he tried it again, and that time he got him.
Corners, 10 seconds.
Dave Parrish brings them together for the 12th and final round, and no wonder the crowd here in the Wolverhampton Civic Hall applaud. It's been a splendid contest right from the first bell some 11 rounds ago. Richie Woohall, the champion from England, from Telford, the 26-year-old, looks to have defended his title pretty successfully, but he has not been able to overcome this sturdy little fella from Shediac, New Brunswick in Canada. The challenger is Jacques LeBlanc, 32 years old. This is his 34th fight, and nobody, not even the great Roberto Duran, has been able to put this man on the canvas or stop him. He seems impervious to cuts. He seems just about impervious to every single thing that Richie Woohall has thrown at him. And the person who has got cut is Richie Woohall. A little nick on the left eyelid. Good work by the corner, has made sure that that was not given anything more than the faintest cause for concern. So it's Woohall finishing as he started, behind a long left jab and the occasional right, and as ever Jacques LeBlanc trying to close him down. So LeBlanc is giving away some 5 or perhaps even 6 inches in height. So Richie Woohall is a little bit heavier. He's taken a few good hard shots, and lesser men would have crumbled and said, I'll just take my money and go home. But not Jacques LeBlanc. The left side of LeBlanc's face now swollen, not too discoloured, but there's a bit of a bruise underneath his left eye, and Woohall has certainly got home. So a good finish by Richie Woohall, and try, as I'm sure he will. I don't think he's going to stop this man and become the first person to do it. Well, did I speak too soon? I think if Jacques LeBlanc is listening, he'll certainly have other ideas, and I don't think his pride is going to let him finish this contest on the wrong end of a stoppage. And my goodness, Richie Woohall really has tried. Dave Parrish breaks them up. About 40 seconds remaining. What a sturdy, stocky bundle of energy and courage Jacques LeBlanc has turned out to be. What a good shot. And he takes it as if, well, it was just a slap across his face. This has been a great performance by LeBlanc. But Richie Woohall has been in command, and one must remember that he is the champion. He's boxed like a champion. 10 seconds to go. LeBlanc may just survive. His corner saying to him, keep your hands up for the last 10 seconds, and you'll still stay unfloored. But Richie Woohall, I'm quite sure, has won this contest without any shadow of a doubt. But you've got to give full marks to Jacques LeBlanc. Woohall wins it. No question about that. Dave Parrish holds his hands up. Denny Mancini sponges his man down. A successful defence then by Richie Woohall. But a lot of the plaudits and a lot of the applause must go to the 32-year-old Jacques LeBlanc from Shediac, New Brunswick. He took Woohall the full 12 rounds and stretched the champion in every aspect. So Woohall, right at the end, coming through the left and then the right and stepping back, and Jacques LeBlanc taking just about everything in the last round and still happy to come back, and for once he really did wobble.
Ladies and gentlemen, at the end of 12 hard rounds of boxing, the referee, Dave Paris, has scored the contest. Jacques LeBlanc, 114.5 points. Richie Woohall, 120 points. Ladies and gentlemen, the undefeated middleweight champion of the Commonwealth, Richie Woohall.
Well, he didn't lose a single round. But full marks, well, a wry little smile there. He didn't just come for the money, he didn't just make the trip for the good of his health. And he gave full value here in Wolverhampton tonight. Well done, Jacques LeBlanc.
And now, ladies and gentlemen, to present the championship belt, the steward in charge, Mr. Charles Giles.
Still there, isn't it? Funniest dog in the world. Can I lean on you, my friend?
Ladies and gentlemen, we still have plenty more action to come, so please hold on to your seats and the full contest yet. Thank you.
Okay. Okay. Come on.
Two broken
I know.
Watch the camera.
Okay.
In your own time.
Okay. Richie, you'd be delighted with the defence. You'd be delighted with the fact that the hands looked all right.
Yeah.
He's not the sort of fella you'd want to meet every day of the week, is he?
No, I wasn't too pleased with how I fought, really. I've been out for 7 months and it showed. I got caught with some silly shots, but I had to pace myself because I know this fella's really strong. He'd been 10, 12 rounds with Duran and Vinny Pazienza, so I knew I was well prepared. I wasn't in with no mug tonight.
Oh, and what about the hands?
The hands are great, you know. I had to take a long layoff in the summer. It was touchy, you know. I even thought one time about jacking it in because I was getting dogged with injuries. I've had 2 operations and they've gone great, and my hands are 100% now. But I showed a little bit of ring rust tonight.
Coming in a couple of pounds below the limit actually means that you must be in pretty good condition. I mean, how do you for a big fella get down to just under 11 stone 6?
Right, yeah, I got hollow legs, I think. Yeah, I got a good lady at home, Jane. She does all my cooking for me. She's good.
You really did put together some very good punching, and full credit to the Canadian opponent. He took some of your very best shots.
Yeah, you know, I caught him with a cracking right hand there. A bit of inexperience on my behalf for not backing it up. But as I say, I knew he was a very tough lad, and look at that. I mean, he took some great shots. But I wasn't going to rush myself because I knew how durable he was. I didn't want to blare off, and I just saved a bit to the end. And I let him hit me a few times because when they, you know, around the arms and that, it wears them down as well. So it's a thinking game, this game. It's not all about just slugging away.
What were you thinking when you discovered that you had a little nick on your eyebrow?
Yeah, well, I got the best corner man in the world, I think, Denny Mancini, and he said to me, nothing to worry about, just keep boxing and guard it well. So that's what I did. or tried to. Got caught a few times, like. But then he sorts that out. That's his department, and he said it was okay. So I was pleased.
One name springs to mind, an old opponent from amateur days, Neville Brown. Does he figure in your plans?
Well, yeah, we're both in the same stable. I'm sure Neville would like to get on. I would like to get on, but I'll leave that to my manager. I'm happy with where I'm going. Just take one fight at a time, and if it comes up, it comes up.
But glad to be back. Hands are fine. The title's still yours. So not a bad night in Wolverhampton.
Yeah, not a bad night in Wolverhampton. I'm on enemy territory here. Wolverhampton Wonders. I'm a West Brom fan, but they've treated me well tonight. Fair play to them.
Well done, Rich.
Cheers, thanks.
Lovely stuff. Well done, big fella.
Nice to see you again.
Yeah, and you.
The other side again.
Yeah, okay. Get Jack.
No, you need to be this side this time.
Oh yeah, of course. Jack, my name is Jim. How are you?
Hello, Jim. I'm fine.
Well,
Can I see
Jim
my face?
Jim is Jack as well. Not a mark on, still pretty.
It's like this every fight, and I lose. What can I say?
Yeah. Okay. Jacques LeBlanc, you lost again, but I've got to say, what a reception you got and what value for money you give.
Well, that's bottom line. I've been in this game 13 years, fighting 17 years. This is my 6th loss in a row against a well-known boxer. I get out of the ring without a mark. You just saw this guy was cut up. And I don't get hit as much as it looked, as you can see my face. And when you go fight guys in their town, promoter is his manager and all this, and you just can't win. What do you have to do to win? This is what I hate about boxing.
How does this man, Richie Woohall, compare with some of the men you fought recently, particularly the world-rated fighters like Duran and Pazienza?
Well, it's hard. Everybody's different. Style makes fight. And like Duran and Vinny Pazienza were 5'7", were smaller than me. Richie Woohall was a very tall guy, and my weapon is my jab. And I was able to hit him with my jab, but just later in the fight. And my weapon is my jab, and I was not able to use it like I wanted. But I was surprised. I caught him with a solid right hand, and I thought I did enough to win. But again, his hometown, his promotion.